Hello, I'm Rex Carter, Associate Programmer of Narrative Shorts for Bend Film, and I'm here with several of the filmmakers in this block of shorts. And I'm just going to start with the first one that came up on my screen, which is Jefferson Stein with the film Burros. Just quick note, I think this film is not in this same block, but is playing in a separate block. There was some issue, so if you're looking for this film, search through the website. It will show up, and I just don't think it's right next to these other films in our lineup. But Jefferson, I love to ask filmmakers that work with children what it's like doing that. You've got some really great performances with your kids. How did you find them, and how did you work with them?
Yeah, thank you. I was blown away by their performances as well. It was an interesting process. So everyone in the film is a non-actor. They had never acted before, including the kids. And I'd had some experience in the past working with kids with commercials and other shorts I've done. But it kind of taught me that, most of the process of getting the good performance is the casting, and to really spend that extra week, or in this case, it took more than a month to find them. And so specifically with regards to them two, we cast Swemi, who plays Enna, by contacting local elementary schools. And we would, email the principals, call the principals up, and go at lunchtime. And we just sort of like, who wants to be in a film, and some of them would raise their hand, and then they'd line up, and I'd be in the principal's office, just like sitting on the floor cross-legged, and they'd come in. There's a bearded dragon in an aquarium behind me, right at this one. And I just would kind of make up a scene. And I was just looking for kids that really were very present and emotive, and just kind of wanted to be there and wanted to do it. And we found Swemi, and she was amazing. And that's how we cast her. And on the Autumn Nation, we cast by really word of mouth. We went for kind of, we would meet people, and they would say, oh, you need to try this family, or, we eventually got connected with the local Thoka team, which is that sport you see in the film with the sort of like the field hockey looking sport. And we went to the end of one of the practices, and a 6-year-old Amaya Wan was there, and my producer Liz, who's an actor, ran a scene with her that we made up there, and she started crying right there on the spot. It was just...
that was my next question, is the crying. The last shot is so powerful, and
Thank you.
And the tears on her face just really drive the point home. And so she was able to get there as an actress.
Yeah, I mean, she got there just like as an actress. In the auditions, she was just so there, and we were just talking. We talked her through kind of what it's about, and she was able to get there. But funny enough, on the actual shoot, we just she was like, the only way I can cry is if I remember this YouTube video. And every time I watch this YouTube video, I cry. And we were like, okay, but we're shooting in the middle of the desert, and she didn't use the YouTube video when we were doing all of the auditions and the rehearsals and stuff like that. She's like, I just need the YouTube video, but there's no service out there. And so we're sitting there like trying to pull a YouTube video up, and like, finally, like, she saw like the thumbnail or something, and comes back, and she just did it like, multiple times. She's a fantastic actress, so she could like, she's able to get there, but then she also has the tools, and she's never been to any acting classes or anything like that.
Oh, excellent. Well done. She was great, and the film was great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Moving on to Isaac with Complicated. Hello, Isaac.
Yes. Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, what a joy your film is. Any film that can make me laugh and cry in the same same running time, I'm always a big thumbs up. It's so funny and so touching at the same time. Don't even really know where to start, except the performances, the mother and the son. There's such a comfortable dynamic between those two. Did they know each other? Were they both just cast separately? Again, I'm curious about the casting.
Yeah, so they were cast separately initially. I knew that I wanted to start from Itamar, the main character, and I found Omri, and finding someone that was right for the role was a little difficult because the role did require a few, like it required to like be waxed on screen and like kind of dye your hair blonde. Like there were a lot of like small factors in how the characters were dressed and how they behaved and how they looked that I felt was really important to kind of give a sense of who they were like instantly without elaborating on it in the script. And Khani, who played the mom in the film, I actually approached her because she is a very, very well-known actress in Israel. And people relate to her very easily because she used to be kind of like an actress in a lot of like specials for children, and like she would sing songs. She's like really, really, really famous and everybody loves her. And I didn't grow up in Israel. I partly grew up in Israel, but I grew up in Italy. So I didn't have that association with her. So when I looked at her, I thought that she would be excellent in this quirky role that also has a lot of dramatic heft to it. And that made me, it made me kind of easy to talk to it about her. Whereas I noticed like other people on set that really knew her as like a huge figure from their childhood, it was like kind of making them a little bit starstruck in a sense, but I was really drawn to her like quirky nature also like in her role in all the children stuff, but I also knew that she could bring the dramatic part. And then when they met, it kind of like the dynamic kind of evolved, and I really saw that there was a really good fit between them.
Yeah, that her character, the quirkiness and the drama is what I think really, I mean, both performances are great.
Thanks.
But her accent, I mean, the Yoga Lattes, I laughed every time I heard the word at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just encourage everybody to watch and embrace the Yoga Lattes.
Thanks.
I really enjoyed the film, and it's so touching.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Chris Tenzis with Big Touch.
Hello.
Such a beautiful film. Short and sweet and makes you think. It leaves you with an impression that keeps you thinking well after it's over. Talk to me about like the initial idea and because it's such a curious film. No, it really is. It's like, what was the origin of the idea?
Oh, well, you know, touching is really important.
Mm-hmm. But the size different.
Oh yeah, that part.
Trying to...
Yeah. So there's this hyper realist sculptor named Ron Muick, and his work. It's if you haven't seen his work, it's all people. They look like they're actual people in the room, except for the fact that they're different in sizes. Some of them are normal human size, but some of them are really tiny. And then some of them are so big that they're towering over you as you make your way through the exhibit. I think there's actually, or at least there used to be one at the Portland Art Museum, which is where I'm originally from. But there's this ambiguous, like an ambiguous despair oftentimes on the faces of these sculptures. And so I kind of was just looking at them wondering if maybe their size was somehow determined by the source of that emotion, that maybe one of the sculptures that's very small is small because they feel like they live in an indifferent world, they feel invisible, or maybe the ones that are very, 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 very big are so are as big as they are because they have so much love, but they don't have a place to put it all. So I wondered then what would happen if they were real, and what would happen if, you know, they touched. Wouldn't it be interesting if they equalized? Because for that moment of connection, there's relief, temporary relief. So that was the basic idea.
Yes, and the camera tricks you use to pull that off are so it's just great. It's such an in-camera solution as opposed to like some mediocre visual effect. It's a very nice transition that you kind of, when you're watching it, you're like almost confused for a moment as what you're seeing, and it's just great. And the cinematography is great. Give a shout out to your cinematographer, or talk about shooting it.
Well, so this was our fifth indirect collaboration together. He's a cinematographer. I'm an editor by trade. We were getting drunk. We were getting drunk on rosé, and I was just really down because I'm like, God, I just want to be directing something. And then he said, well, I want to shoot something on 35 millimeter. Let's do something that we can afford. And he said that like his prompt was, because we're shooting on film, we want this to be tactile. I fell in love with his photography because his stuff is just so lush and sensual. So I kind of took that to heart. And then I pitched him like 5 different ideas. And then he said, let's do this one. This one I have not seen before. And then that was it. So
Excellent. And what's his name?
Tech.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Steve, let's go to you next.
All right.
Hi, Steve. Chocolate and Ice Cream. Such a sweet little film. What's your animation technique, or how are you putting it together animation wise? What are your tools?
I basically did it in After Effects. So yeah, the song came first, then the story came after. So I really tried to time the animation in with the song, kind of help the story move along. So yeah, I mean, my experience is sort of limited in animation. My experience has mostly been in After Effects, so that's what I did it in. I'm kind of doing using some other software at this point, but yeah, that's what I did.
So if I'm curious, if the song came first and the lyrics were in English, you chose to more of like a French setting, correct?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to create it into like more of a romantic scenery. So I thought a French little town would be cool. Yeah, I just trying to give it a little bit of romance.
Okay, I wasn't, because I almost thought maybe the song might have came second when.
No, the song came first. The song was like created spontaneously at this celebration of life for my nephew, and pretty soon after the song was done, I came up with the idea for the kind of a sweet connection with this cat and this dog.
Yeah, it's to personify the chocolate cake and the ice cream with the animals.
The metaphor, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cute idea.
Yeah,
and some of the animation is just great, where they finally get together in the same room.
yeah, yeah. I try to throw some humor in there.
You do a great job of getting a lot of emotion into it's such character designs.
Yeah, it was kind of reflected on the origin of the song, which is kind of a sense of longing and separation. So that, I think the story kind of fits in with that.
All right, thank you. It's very wonderful. And lastly, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going, Rex?
Jeremy, I'll admit, I am one of the guys that are in your documentary that don't understand how this is a thing. But But what I liked about your documentary is how it was able to bring me in anyway. So yeah, the whole world of people watching people play video games. I'm that guy that's like, that's a thing. But then I love how you build the community and show how wonderful it is. How did you first stumble into the idea of the story?
That's a great question. So most of the people on our team were all millennials, and we grew up playing video games. We had Super Nintendos and Sega in our house, and there was, for us, there was always a stigma. Video games are kind of a waste of time, and if you play too much video games, you're going to rot your brain. And anyone who's still playing video games in adulthood, it was kind of seen as kind of slackers. And when we heard about this story of people playing video games to raise money for charity, it just felt like it was cutting against that stigma in such an interesting way. So, we were lucky. We started filming the film when kind of Twitch was still a pretty new platform. And of course, now you've got tech giants like Google and Facebook who are doing their own video game streaming services. But for us, the real turning point was discovering the philanthropic angle and finding out that people were using something like playing video games to raise millions and millions of dollars for charity. It just seemed so strange. We thought, we've got to find a way to tell that story.
And so once you found that hook, did that lead you to the lead character that you chose to follow?
Right. So a lot of these fundraising events, they're recorded and people can tune in and watch them, worldwide. So we had seen some YouTube videos and clips here and there. And as we were kind of ramping up and trying to figure out how to approach the story, one of the bigger events was going to be happening live. So we just tuned in and we started watching. And there was one particular streamer, one player who just had a lot of, Grand Pooh Bear is his name. He had just a ton of personality and charisma. He seemed to make everyone feel very comfortable and at ease. And we thought, man, if this guy, would be into this, then it could really help us craft a story that feels more intimate and give you someone to connect to. So we just shot him an email and said, hey, would you be interested? And he's like, yeah, come to Portland, come hang out. And we did. And he told us when we got there, he said, you're the third documentary crew who's emailed me. I didn't think you'd actually show up. So we're like, well, we're here. Let's make a movie. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Happened. Yeah.
And then from there, you followed up with the charity itself. And
that's right. We knew we wanted to tell both sides. So we had to find who's on the other side. So Grand Pooh Bear has done a lot of work with Direct Relief. And so we ended up connecting with them, and they were incredibly supportive and helpful, let us into their facilities, and we ended up going with the team to follow up to the Hurricane Dorian relief that they are doing down in the Bahamas. So we got to follow the money from, a guy who's playing video games in his living room in Portland, all the way to seeing how that money that they're raising is helping people in the Bahamas who are really trying to bounce back from a pretty atrocious event.
Yeah. No, after watching the film, I Googled Direct Relief and I checked out their website, and it just looks fantastic. And I would encourage everyone else to do the same.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. It's a great film, and about a topic I would have never expected to find so enjoyable.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's about all the time we have for everyone. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and yeah, check out this block of films. It's an eclectic mix. It's got some animation, it's got some documentary. The theme was about finding connections, and I think it's a great block of film. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Have
Bye,
a good
everyone.
night, everybody.